guys, welcome back to my channel. This is my first real sit-down video since I left YouTube for the time that I left YouTube. I'm sorry about that, but a lot has gone on in my life recently that I felt the need to share with you guys finally. I feel like I'm ready enough to make a video about this, and this is not only for me to get it off my chest, but also for anyone else that has struggled with this, and for anyone else that this has happened to, because unfortunately it happens to a lot more of us than the world shows us, if that makes sense. I went through the worst thing that could ever happen. Probably not the worst thing that could ever happen, but the worst thing that has ever happened to me. The hardest thing that has ever happened to me and my boyfriend and my family and his family, probably, I don't know. I had a miscarriage. And this is going to be my pregnancy story and my miscarriage story. And I will cry in this because I'm already crying. And I cried today because I went to an ultrasound with my mom she was getting her thyroid checked out, and they did an ultrasound for it. And just looking at the ultrasound machine, hearing the clicking of it just broke my heart, honestly. Because the last time I was at an ultrasound, they told me my baby didn't have a heartbeat. But we'll talk about my period first. This is going to be a long video, so if you're not interested, don't watch this. But it's going to be a long video because I want this to actually help anyone, because this is a really hard thing to go through, and if you literally, when you're going through it, you feel like you're alone and you feel like nobody understands your pain. But trust me, there are so many people that have felt the same thing that you felt, and I need to relax a little bit. Holy shit. Oh. So my period always comes on the 2nd of every month. It was November. My birthday was in October. November was coming up. I had my period in October. It was pretty normal to an extent. It was very light, a lot lighter than it usually was, and I didn't have as much cramping as I usually did. And it was mostly just like what I would say spotting. And then November came around, November 2nd hit, I didn't have my period. Days went by, I'm like, oh, I'm young, it's just not regular. On November 7th, I went to a spin class with my friend, and we were joking, like, haha, what if you're pregnant, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, haha, what if I'm pregnant? Like, what if I am? What would I do? I had a pregnancy test that I randomly found, like, a week prior to November 7th. Just, like, in my room from, like, a test that I took when I thought I was pregnant, when I was like, haha, maybe I'm pregnant. And I took a test, but I wasn't, obviously. And so when I got home from my spin class, I went to go take a shower, peed on the stick, got into the shower, didn't look at that, FaceTime my friend, because I told her that I'm going to FaceTime her after, when I look at it, so we can, like, you know, see the answer at the same time. And I FaceTime her, and I look at the stick, and it says that I'm pregnant. I was in complete and total disbelief. That was just like such a whirlwind of like, no, I'm not, like total denial, like, no, I'm not pregnant, I'm 20 years old, I'm not pregnant, I've only known my boyfriend for a couple months, I'm not pregnant. So we then went to Planned Parenthood, and I went and got a pregnancy test at Planned Parenthood, and it was like, yeah, you are pregnant. And I'm like, yay, I'm pregnant. I had a lot of emotions. I didn't really know what you're supposed to do in that situation, because, like, I was like, pregnancy, like, I've seen people get pregnant, like, people get pregnant my age, like, it happens. Like, I didn't think that it could happen to me specifically, and I was just like, okay, well, I gotta tell my boyfriend. I called my boyfriend, he came over, and I had the test, and I just kind of pulled out the test. And he knew something was up when I asked him to come over, because I never really am like, hey, you need to come over right now, I need to talk to you about something. So I had it under a blanket, and I pulled it out, and I was like, we're having a baby. And, like, of course, abortion was, like, first thing in, like, everyone's mind. Like, you can't keep this, we can't have a baby, we can't have a baby. My family's against abortion. I'm personally against abortion. I could never abort my own baby. That is me. in my body. I cannot get rid of that. It happened for a reason. I'm going to carry it out. And I've always wanted to be a young mom. I was excited, honestly. I was terrified, but I was excited. Then, you know, symptoms started coming up. I went to my first ultrasound. I saw the little baby. At first, I laid down, and, like, it was the transvaginal going, like, up your vagina. And, he couldn't find it at first, and I was like, oh my god, maybe I'm not pregnant. And I got excited for a second. I'm not gonna lie, I got excited. I was like, I'm not actually pregnant. We don't have to worry about this. My life doesn't need to change right away. And then it finally came up, and it was this little seed. And I'm actually, this has to do with it. I'll show you this, a little close-up of it. I'll have a little picture right here. The top one, I've only had 2 ultrasounds of it that I actually got to see it like that. It was just a little dot, and he was like, this is your pregnancy. And I was like, oh fuck, I'm pregnant. That's a baby inside me. It's just a couple cells, but, like, that's a baby inside me. My second ultrasound came up, like, a couple weeks later. I didn't really like my doctor. I low-key blame my doctor for some of the things that have happened, because I was not tested for anything. I wasn't, my levels weren't tested the first day that I found out that I was pregnant. Or not even the first day, but, like, the first ultrasound that I had, they didn't tell me how far along I was. They didn't ask me what prenatal vitamins I was taking. They weren't telling me any risks, anything that could happen, any chances of miscarriage that I can have, like what I can and can't do, what I should and shouldn't be doing. They didn't tell me any of that. They didn't test anything that was going on with me. They were just like, yep, this is your ultrasound, this is your pregnancy, come back in, like, 4 weeks, and, you know, we'll give you another ultrasound. And I was like, okay, I've never gone through this. I didn't know what they were supposed to do, what they were supposed to ask you. So my second ultrasound comes up. I think I started developing just, like, pregnancy symptoms. Like, I had really bad nausea. I was really irritable, very moody. My tits started growing like crazy and swelling. They were heavy and, like, real boobs. That was probably the best thing about being pregnant. Like, your boobs really do grow, like, right away. And it was just, like, crazy. They're completely back to normal now, by the way, if you're wondering. But that was, like, really cool. But I had really bad nausea and just, like, irritability, and, like, smells would make me puke. I had a lot of cravings. I didn't want to eat vegan anymore. I was craving, like, Cinnamon Toast Crunch bites and just, like, all this junk food. I had so many doubts, so many worries about, like, my relationship and, like, if this is going to work out with us, if I want to be a single mom, because I always thought I wanted to be a single mom, and just so many things going through my head. And then I would have, like, really good days and, like, really bad days, and then, like, really, really good days and then really, really, really bad days. It was just, it was a roller coaster. It really was. And I wonder if my next pregnancy is going to be like that, because that was insane. I was a different person. I was just miserable all the time. And I just feel like I took the pregnancy so much for granted, and I know I didn't do all the things that I was supposed to be doing to, like, make sure everything went okay. But my doctor didn't tell me anything. He didn't tell me the risks of anything. So I was just carrying on with my life the way that I was. And all that stuff. And I was just like, I stopped going to the gym, because I thought that if you went to the gym, like, something would happen. I didn't want anything to happen. I knew that nothing would happen, but I didn't want to risk it. You know, some things I was, like, super cautious about, and some things I was like, you know, it won't hurt. Nothing won't, like, it, you know? They finally sent me to go get my blood work. And I got my blood work done. I got my 8 vials and a cup of pee taken. And then a week later, I had to go to my 12-week ultrasound. I was 12 weeks. I was supposed to be 12 weeks and 3 days at that ultrasound about. And I was measuring off every time I went in, which was normal, because, you know, other pregnant people, they don't always measure normal, because you can't pinpoint exactly when you got pregnant. I know exactly when I got pregnant, but you can't really pinpoint exactly when it implanted and all that stuff happened. So I go in for my 12-week ultrasound. Me and my boyfriend are so excited, because when at 12 weeks, like, the fetus, on the ultrasound, you can see the actual shape of the baby. It's still, like, teeny tiny, eensy weensy, like, not a real sized baby, but in the ultrasound, like, it has the shapes of a baby. It holds the shape of a baby, like, laying down, like, cradling. And I was really excited to see that. The day before, I was, like, Googling all these pictures, and like just so excited to finally see like my baby, like have it look like a baby, because it never really looked like a baby, you know what I mean? And so we go in, we're in the waiting room, we're really excited, I'm like all smiles, like shitting my pants from happiness. And then the doctor calls me in, and we go into the room, and he's like, all right, we're going to do a normal ultrasound this time because you should be far along enough so that you can see just like over your stomach instead of the transvaginal, like up your vagina ultrasound. So I'm like, okay, like that's so exciting to me, not having to have a huge thing go up my vagina to see my child. And then he puts the jelly on my stomach. He's like looking at it. He's silent. There was the nurse in there, and there was someone training to be a nurse as well in there. So it was the three of them and the two of us, and everyone was just silent, just like looking at the screen. And the doctor's like making these faces like, and he's like, I'm gonna do the transvaginal so we can get a better picture. Oh, and at my second ultrasound, we saw the baby's heartbeat. That is when it went real. It was like, it had a heartbeat. We could see its little heart going beep, 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 beep. It's like a blinking light. It's really cool. And he's like, yeah, we're going to do the transvaginal so we can get a better picture. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. It could be in a wrong position, you know. It could be too far in there, you know. So he does the transvaginal, and he's like looking around. And I see this thing on the I see this my baby on the screen. And it doesn't look any bigger, any better. It honestly looks worse, more transparent than it did last time. And the doctor's just like looking at it and like still not saying anything. A couple minutes go by, and he's just like not saying anything. And we're like, what the fuck is going on? And then my boyfriend, like, he gets the vibe that like something's not right. And he asked the doctor, is everything okay? And the doctor says, I don't think so. I can't seem to find a heartbeat. Immediately, I break. Immediately, I just break down. I cannot handle that. I'm like, oh my God. That was it for that appointment. He didn't measure it. He didn't tell me like when. I mean, I don't know. I was shaking. I was crying. Once I heard I can't find a heartbeat, I immediately just started sobbing and shaking and just so many tears. And then the three of them are just looking at me like they have no idea what to do or say. And then the doctor's like, I'm gonna give you guys a minute. And my boyfriend just hugs me and just holds me, and I'm just crying. And in my head, I'm like, this is my fault. Like, I could have done this better. I should have stayed vegan. I should have done this. I should have done that. I shouldn't have done that. I should not have done that. This is why it happened. It's all my fault. You know? That's where your mind goes when you hear that. That's like knowing, like, it's inside your body. That's immediately, no matter what anyone tells you, that is what your mind goes to, and that is exactly where my mind went to. Just completely blaming myself for it, thinking that it was all my fault. And, you know, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I have no idea, because I don't know why this happened. I had what was called a missed miscarriage. That is when the fetus dies, but the body doesn't recognize it yet, so it just sits there, and then you find out at an ultrasound. Prior to that, I did not feel anything differently going on in my body. I did not have any idea that this was happening or that anything. And then we left the doctor, and the doctor was like, you have two options. You can either wait until your body recognizes that the fetus is no longer living, or you can get the procedure to get it removed, which is called a DNC. And I was like, okay, I'll call you and let you know. And we pull into my driveway. She's yelling at me about something stupid or telling me about something, I don't know. And I'm crying, and my mom's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, there's not gonna be a baby. And like at this point, everyone got really excited. like super excited to have like a kid running around like in the house. Like that'd be so cute. Like that's so cute, like a little baby. It would be my parents' first grandkid. Like that. Wow. She broke down in tears. We were just crying. And then I went into my room, made some spaghetti, sat down and was like, I want to go to the gym. That was my first thing that I wanted to do, go to the gym. I was so frustrated and just like so hurt that I just wanted to go to the gym and work it all out and just get all of this sadness out of my body. I was talking to my friend that I went to Planned Parenthood with, and we were talking about like how my appointment went and everything, and she basically told me that like that's not how doctor's appointments are supposed to go for pregnancy, just the way that he was, little details just weren't right. And I was like, yeah, I never really trusted him in the first place because I never had him until like I got pregnant. That's the first time I met him, was at my first ultrasound. And so I ended up making an appointment at her doctor. So the next day I went there and I went in for, you know, a second opinion to make sure that the baby's dead, because my other doctor already scheduled to make me an appointment for the next day to get it removed when I didn't ask them to, and I thought that was extraordinarily rude. So I went to, you know, the other doctor. A really, really sweet lady was doing the ultrasound. It was just a really homey place. I felt really comfortable. She was explaining to me everything that was happening. And once again, I see the baby on the screen, and I'm just like, that doesn't look any better than yesterday, and I still cannot see that little blinking white light. And she's like, yeah, I have to agree, there's no heartbeat. And I broke again, and it was just like, okay, it's over. Like, it's really over now. And then I ended up wanting to do the DNC because I didn't want it. You could get some kind of infection if it's just sitting in there because you don't know how long it'll take for it to, you know, recognize that it's not alive and miscarry it naturally. Plus, my mom went through a miscarriage before she had my brother, and I would never want to go through that. Actually seeing all of that, I would never want to go through that. And my heart hurts for anyone that went through that. I can't even imagine that. So the next day, this was right before Christmas. I think it was December 21st that I got the procedure done to get it removed. On the 19th, I found out that it was no longer alive. On the 20th, I had the second opinion, and on the 21st, I had it removed. And the removal was fine. I had a really good day that day. I didn't feel bad. I was, you know, I felt more like myself because my HGC, I don't know what the order is, but those levels were dropping in me and everything was kind of going back to normal. So I felt fine that day. I felt good. I wasn't upset. I was like, okay, this is a fresh start. It's going to be removed. I can be okay now. That was a good day. And then after that, I went into a thing of solitude. I cut everyone out. I stopped talking to everyone. I didn't want to talk to anyone about anything. I became really distant with my boyfriend. I was just heartbroken. I told this to my boyfriend, and he was like, that's harsh, but this is true. The second that I was told that there's no longer a heartbeat, that is something died inside of me, literally and figuratively. Like something inside of me broke and just crumbled into pieces, and that is something that will never come back. That pain, that hurt, that heartache will always be inside of me, and probably always be inside of everyone. And the only thing you can do is not know that everything happens for a reason, because that's kind of fucked up if you really think about it. But, you know, everything will be okay. You know, like there's a plan for everyone, And everything you go through is meant to teach you something, to strengthen you, to show you that you can get through anything. I still struggle with it every day. It's literally almost March, and today I cried over seeing an ultrasound machine. I see babies everywhere. Everyone is pregnant. My friend that I was talking about this whole time, she found out a week after I found out that she's pregnant too. And her baby is fine. That's something that I could not handle. If I can tell you one thing, if you are going through this, if you went through this, if you know someone that has gone through this, it is okay to cut anyone or anything out of your life that is making coping with this any harder. My best friend was pregnant with a girl. I wanted a girl, she wanted a boy. That's something that will always break my heart, and that is something that I cannot handle, I cannot deal with. I just get extraordinarily depressed and upset and just not okay up here. When I think about that, or when I talked to her, I stopped talking to her. I blocked her on everything. It was nothing personal towards her. That is something that I literally could not handle. I could not handle hanging out with her and having her start showing when I was just starting to show a little bit, and having her talk about like her pregnancy and how excited she is to have a baby and all this stuff, and knowing that my baby didn't grow past 9 weeks, and I found out at 12 weeks that it was no longer alive. My body, I think, realized that either there was no longer anything in there or that the fetus died on December 23rd. That night, I got the world's worst cramps, and now that I think of it, they were contractions, because they were on and off. They were really, really, really fucking bad, and then it would go away, and then it would come back, and then it would go away, and then it would come back even harder, and then it would go away for a couple seconds, and then it would come back, and then I just like felt like I needed to take a shit really bad, so I went on the toilet, and this thing fell out of me, and it was the remnants of whatever they couldn't get out, because when you're young and you get a D&C, they have to be very gentle because your uterine lining is very delicate, and if they puncture it when they're like cleaning it out, that could ruin your chances of ever having a kid again. So I guess they went like really gentle, and like a piece of it was left in there, so it fell out of the toilet. This is real now. This is over. And I just broke. And right after that, I felt perfectly fine. Physically, not mentally. And yeah. So it's still not something that I am doing the best with. It is something that I take day by day. I try to limit the things that trigger me being upset about it. I get sometimes I watch like TV and I see someone getting pregnant, and I just my heart breaks. At the gym today, there was a lady working out, and she was super pregnant, and my heart broke a little bit, and I just soaked up the tears, like brought them back into my face, and was like, nope, we're fine, we're okay. If I was still pregnant right now, I would be about halfway done with my pregnancy, which is really hard, because I would be super showing right now, and I would know what it was. And I think one of the worst things is that I lost the baby just before I was going to find out what it is, because if you didn't know, at 12 weeks you can get genetic testing done, and that can tell you if it's a girl or a boy. So I was going to get that blood work done that day, or like about that day. So we had a name picked out if it was a girl, we had a name picked out if it was a boy. I was looking at all this baby stuff. Me and my mom would go to all these places. My mom got me one of these, like a little baby's first year book. That's just like the cutest thing ever. It's like your baby shower, and it's just like this I'm gonna keep for my baby when I do have a baby, because this is just too cute. Yeah, that was my pregnancy / miscarriage story. I hope this helped anyone, and I'm sorry for crying so much, but I'm not that sorry because I can't help it. It's a very sad thing for me to talk about, And if anyone else has experienced something like this, write a comment, you know, make this more talked about, because miscarriage happens in more women than you would think. My mom had a miscarriage. My godmom had a couple miscarriages. Miscarriage is more common than you think it is, and it needs to be talked about more, especially when younger people have miscarriages, because like this is like my prime time to be having a kid, but I didn't, and now I'm just terrified of getting pregnant again and this happening again. Like, that is something that's so scary, and it's just like, it haunts me. It's like, I never want to go through this again. Like, if this happens again, I don't know what I'm going to do. I hope this helped at least one person, and I'm gonna keep making YouTube videos if you guys want me to keep making them. So let me know, and let's have a discussion in the comments, because I think we need to spread more positivity in this world. So yeah, I was gonna say, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, but it's a sad topic, so if you could just leave a comment, a good comment, a nice comment, that would mean the world to me, and I'm sure it would mean the world to like everyone, because who doesn't love positivity? Yeah, I love you guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.